All right. So the topic, how to build a stronger business, a more stable business, a less fragile
A
business,
business that's not fragile.
a business that is not fragile.
Yes.
Um, I've been thinking about this a lot because just like in 2000, 2008, um, the years of, the pandemic that transpired, if you were not able to pivot and if your business was not solid, you got watched, right?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that because we're getting ready to move into a summer period, right? AI is going to continue to expedite processes and projects and things, and it's going to be great for many of us who understand how to use it, right? It's going to accelerate our businesses and growth.
Hmm.
But you know what? You can also be a victim of that acceleration and growth too. A lot of occupations, a lot of business models are going to become obsolete, and people are going to have to pivot and start building their business in ways that will allow them to weather these type of storms. That's what kind of inspired me to have this conversation because I see it happening in our marketplace now. And I don't defecate on people's cornflakes, right? I'm not going to go to a business owner and say, hey, if you don't change this, you're going to be out of business. But I will willingly admit I'm having conversations with business owners and I'm listening to them. I'm like, you're not ready, right? And I'm not the one. Like I said, if someone asks me for my advice, unless you're in my inner circle, but unless someone asks me for advice, I'm just not going to dispense it willy nilly. Because my experience has been it doesn't solve anything when you do that. Um,
And you don't want them to shoot the messenger either.
yeah.
Some people are very um aggressive and assertive when you tell them something that they're not ready for.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. I
And you
mean,
don't want them to shoot the messenger like yeah, you just want to steer clear of that.
yeah. I spoke with a business owner a couple of days ago, and I asked him, how are you going to respond to the changing conditions on the ground? You know, um, whether it be because of what's going on in terms of how money's flowing in the economy, because of our current administration and how financial institutions are responding, et cetera, et cetera. How are you going to respond to how AI is changing your industry? And his response was, "Man, I'm just good with surviving." And it took everything in my self control just to keep my mouth closed while I was talking to him. I was like, "My God," I said, "You're going to be the first casualty, buddy." Like
Yeah,
just surviving doesn't
just
just
thought.
surviving does not work um when stuff's going to hell in a handbasket. I
Did you say it or you just were thinking it?
I was thinking it.
Okay.
Um, but I did share with him because I don't have a relationship with him
Yeah.
like that. But I did share with him, if you're open to a conversation about what my thoughts are in terms of how you can progress, how you can level up,
Hmm.
I'm more than willing to have that discussion. And he did say, okay, that's a conversation I'd like to have with you. So now you've opened the door. Now you've given me permission,
Right.
right? And when I sit down with him, of course, I'm going to develop a little bit more rapport with him and get to a point where he understands there's just love here, there's just respect, and want to see him win. And I'm gonna tell him what he needs to hear. But I mean, like I said, there are a lot of organizations that are going to hurt.
What kind of business does this business owner have?
So I'm gonna speak more generally in
Okay.
case he's watching. 'Cause I don't want him to think I'm just talking about him out the
Well,
blue.
yeah, of course,
Yeah,
but I'm
but
just curious as to like what
so
industry that they were involved in. It doesn't have to be their specific business, but what industry?
so creative arts,
Okay.
videography,
Okay.
photography,
Right. So
painting.
definitely something that's going to be impacted by AI and is being
Yes.
impacted by AI. It's not like he's a plumber or he's an
Yeah.
electrician, where some stuff you need eyes and you need hands to figure it out.
But here's the thing. Even people in the skilled trades, like I think this is a false sense of security. No, we're not going to have in mass robots doing that work yet. right?
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you the businesses who are in those industries, um, where AI is gonna cause a lot of upheaval. So right now, if a person needs a plumber, or if I need a roofer, or if I need someone to do an addition on my home, I'm gonna do one of two things. The first thing I'm going to do is, of course, I'm gonna contact the contractors, the people I know who are in the industry. Not everybody has those relationships. That's something to consider too. But I'm gonna contact some people I know and like recommend somebody,
Right.
right? Um, but it's not gonna stop there. I'm gonna go online. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go to Google. I'm gonna go to ChatGPT, and I'm gonna also do a little bit of due diligence there as well, right?
Right.
And if I don't have those type of relationships, I'm probably gonna start there. And you have companies right now that have created like these AI agents that do a pretty good job on the phone of answering the phone and qualifying people.
Mm-hmm.
Does a really good job of acquiring people's information. It does a really good job of even scheduling appointments once a certain criteria or once that person's been qualified by the AI agent. And if you are in the skilled trades and you don't have tools like that at your disposal. Like I know so many contractors that I've talked to over the years who just miss out on business because they don't have time to answer the call. They don't have time to qualify people. They don't have time to to deal with the intake.
They don't
When
have the internal system set up.
yes,
That's one of the struggles of contractors is not having
yeah,
an internal matrix set up. Like you
yeah,
have to have back office staff to handle calls, clients, things coming in, and if you don't, you're like a hamster on a wheel. You're just jogging in place, and
and
that's
you could
contractor struggle. Yes.
survive before. I mean, you could, right? You're getting enough business. You could survive. You
You're
could
going to
earn.
survive, but you're not going to thrive. That's the difference.
Well,
Is
I don't even think you're going to be able to survive if you don't get your stuff together within the next handful of years. Because other contractors and other people in the industry
are doing it.
are doing it. And so
Yep.
you're going to get squeezed. Those phone calls just aren't going to come in anymore to you.
Hmm.
You're not going to get those emails anymore. You're not going to get those inquiries.
Yep. And people are collaborating as well.
Yes.
They're because I'm collaborating myself, like with my ventures in Toledo,
Hmm.
collaborating with another contractor who's extremely um knowledgeable with hands-on stuff
Hmm.
and polished. So yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
key. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I will willingly admit there are holes in my game when it comes to that. Right.
There's hope
But
in
that
everybody's game. I
but
don't.
that's a huge piece of not having a business that is fragile,
Hmm.
right? That's a huge piece.
Yeah.
That actual engagement, responding to phone calls, responding to emails, responding to inquiries, tracking what's going on in terms of your websites, your landing pages, and your lead magnets. Like when I reflected on this topic over the last 72 hours, I was like, you know what? That's something everyone's gonna have to get better at. It's a wrap. Like you have to.
Agree.
Um, I remember it's gonna sound crazy, right? It really tells my age. But I remember when Google was first introduced.
Hmm.
And we were using the other engines, Yahoo, and you had AOL and this that, and the other. But we really weren't using it in the way people started utilizing Google, where you literally Googled everything. I want to get these gym shoes. Where should I go? I want to buy this hat, these socks, this shirt. I'm gonna go get this suit. Google it. You know what I mean? And I remember seeing a lot of business owners, particularly in the Detroit metropolitan ecosystem, catch L's because they didn't have websites, right? Everybody swapping out. It wasn't a big deal. It became
Hmm.
a big deal real quick,
Okay.
right? And I feel the exact same thing's getting ready to happen here. I just, man, that's a huge piece of it. Um, the other thing that makes your business fragile. Is like I said before, we kind of beat a dead horse. I'm not going to keep going back here, but AI is going to change a lot. Like I
Yeah.
remember 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when photographers and videographers were getting pissed because people were taking out their phones and taking out their iPads or whatever it is they were using and capturing their weddings and capturing those birthdays and capturing those baby showers and things like that, right? And they were like, well, it's not going to be good quality. It's not going to be as good as a camera. And I was like, man, it don't matter. It's going to be good enough, right? These people want convenience. And if you can't make your services as convenient as someone taking out their phone or taking out some device and recording those special moments, you're going to be in trouble.
Right.
You're going to be in trouble. Same thing for graphic designers over the last several years. Well, AI will never be able to do graphics crisp and clean. Really? Oh, that's what you think. There are like people, AI people right now that are pissing off people in the music industry because it's a AI singing songs
Mm-hmm.
and doing it just as effectively as a human being.
Right.
And you can tell some of the differences, but still, it's not about whether or not it's quote unquote as good. It's good enough.
And it's getting better every day.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes.
So, and sometimes when you see stuff, you don't know if it's real or if it's AI generated.
Mhm.
There's some things that you see on social media and you're like, is that really happening? Is that really real?
And it's bananas.
Yeah.
It's bananas. And I can't remember. I think it may have been the CEO of the Graham. And I can't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head. It's terrible. In any respect, he was talking about how they've created these tools to identify what videos and what pictures, have been generated by AI. But they're even admitting now that it's getting so good that even the tools they have aren't able to identify and flag stuff. I mean, these are things you have to think critically about as an entrepreneur right now,
Hmm.
right? Um, the other thing that, speaking of pivoting, you can't be myopic in terms of the services that you offer. I was talking to a business owner yesterday about this. She's in the B2B space just like we are.
Hmm.
And one of the questions she asked me was, how have you been able to have such longevity? And I said, at the end of the day, my mission is entrepreneurship is empowerment. And I tend to focus in certain spaces, right? I tend to focus in sales management, team building. I tend to focus in on companies that provide technical services that I don't want to provide, right? And she was like, well, don't you feel like you're splitting focus? Don't you feel like you're not able to? I said, no, the focus is the same. It's equipping business owners and entrepreneurs with the tools they need to level up. I don't always have to be the one delivering those services, but I need to be able to position myself in such a way where I am the plug. I am that person that you go to when you need access to things, when you need access to information, when you need some perspective, right? Business owners have to not be so myopic about what you're providing because, once again, the competition isn't just human beings in the United States, it's human beings internationally. And once again, these new tools that are being introduced, I'm thinking about those things critically. Like, I'm not saying you're never going to wake up and see me selling handkerchiefs.
Right.
You're not going to wake up and see me promoting cannabis products. Okay. You're not
Or
going
get
to see me.
sold.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You're not going to wake up and see me making an offer on something that is not in that wheelhouse.
Right.
But as I continue to niche down, even more so at this stage of my entrepreneur journey, I'm acutely aware of the fact that I have to have multiple offers, but they need to be congruent with what I do. And I'm not trying to be the one that delivers those offers, right? There are people who are good at executing on things, but they're terrible at sales.
Hmm. And
There are
vice
people,
versa.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are people who are good at doing things, but they're terrible at marketing. They don't know how to attract the attention and close the deal, right? I'm real quick to find people like that and be like, you know what? There's congruence here between values, mission, who we want to serve, how we want to serve. what the expectations are. Let's figure this out, right? Entrepreneurs are going to have to do that, or you're going to have a business that's going to be very susceptible when things go south. You know, um, I can go on and on if you can't tell. There was like five things right on top of my head that I was thinking about. Last but not least, well, not last, because there's a lot more, but I think the last thing I was thinking about, and I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but the solopreneur is going to be in trouble. I know people think that AI is going to allow everyone to be a solopreneur, right? You don't need employees ever in life anymore. No, AI is not going to do that. People who know how to use AI are going to become more so in demand. And you, as the brain, or as the visionary, or as the leader in your business, you are still going to have to be in a position where you have other people who are utilizing AI to perform the functions that you need. Otherwise, your business is going to be fragile. I was thinking about it when I got into, I don't even think you're aware of it. I was in a car accident.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
When?
Wednesday. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but, because
Was anyone hurt?
things need to get settled.
Oh
But,
gosh. Ugh.
a city contractor not paying attention slammed into the passenger door of of the vehicle I was driving.
Wow.
Um, and I'm gonna tell you, I know it sounds weird. If unless you're an entrepreneur, I know it's gonna sound weird to you listening right now. But I'm gonna tell you, the first thing I thought about was as it was happening, the first thing I thought was, how are my businesses gonna continue to function if this ends bad? That literally went through my mind. How are my businesses set up in such a way where my family's gonna be okay if I'm sitting on the shelf for 2 weeks, 2 months? Right? I thought about that as
Hmm.
it was happening and in the midst of it, right? And of course, once I took inventory of like, thank God, I'm not severely injured. I have my life. And the next thing I'm doing is I'm looking around to make sure there is any conflict coming because people are crazy. They'll be the one to cause the problem and then want to still get upset with you. So of course I'm taking inventory. Like, do I need to back up and roll over somebody? Um,
Right.
but I was thinking about that. I was like, what happens? Like, are my businesses set up where if I'm removed from the equation, they'll continue to generate revenues? Um, I'm fortunate that two of my businesses are. One of them is still in fledgling stages of it, but it's someone else is doing 50% of the work that I was doing previously.
Okay.
So I'm like, bet, got that done. And then, of course, there's a lot of different directions we can go with this podcast and the digital products that I have out there in the marketplace, right?
Mhm.
Um, but that's something people should really think critically about because one sickness, one car accident, you need to take a week, you need to take 2, 3 weeks, family emergency, whatever the case may be, right? But the bottom line is life starts going off the rails. Is your business equipped to handle that, right? Do you have enough reserves to handle that? Um, you know, for me personally, I'm not speaking for other people on what you should do, but my goal is for 30% of all of and 30% of what I pay myself in income, 30% of what I generate in revenues to go somewhere where if the BS.com hits, um, things can still get paid for, right?
Right.
Stuff can still function. If you're not thinking about that, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. Look, one time, that's all it takes.
Well, yeah, like you
Yeah,
just said. I mean, you were just going about your normal daily activities, and all of a sudden you're in a car crash.
yeah,
So, yeah, I agree.
yeah. So
And it could happen to anybody.
yeah, Yeah.
at any time.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually, now that I think about it, Wednesday was the day after the blizzard, wasn't it?
It was the day of the blizzard.
Okay. So, yeah,
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Hmm. So yeah. Um, these are the things that, and I look at, once again, I look at the changing conditions on the ground, the circumstances that are going to impact our business. It's a type of blizzard,
Hmm.
right? It's something that's going to disrupt. Like, is your business prepared for the disruption?
I think a lot of solopreneurs are not.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, not at all. Not at all. It's, you have the school of thought where I'm a solopreneur and so I get to keep all my profits.
Hmm.
Yeah, but you also have to deal with all the risk.
And
You
you
have to,
don't get to keep all of your profits.
no, no one has to lie, right? We know
That's
that, but
that's not even an accurate statement because it
right.
takes money to make money. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's like a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Is yeah, it takes money to make money. That's number one. And number two is you can't scale and grow if you don't have a team behind you. There's no way. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not enough hours in the day to do everything that needs to be done um, when you don't have a team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um, you already said, you already know where I was going. You took the words right out of my mouth. The other thing that I've been thinking critically about too
mm,
is, as the workforce and what work looks like and who is going to be employing who and how people are going to be employed. Man, personal brand is going to become more important than ever. Like, personal brand is literally going to be an asset, right? It's going to be an asset. I've been having exchanges with people about this on LinkedIn. And it was interesting because the subject matter, the topic was introduced to me by these conversations where people are talking about brand as an asset more and more, and not just branding for your company, but branding for you,
hmm
right? Um, a lot of business owners don't think about that. They just out here doing whatever, posting whatever. And look, there's something to be said for quote unquote keeping it real and being authentic, but there's also something to be said about taking it too far. You know what I mean? Like, particularly if you're the leader of an organization. Like, if you're the leader of the organization, you got to know that the people in your organization are taking their cues from you. So if you're sporadic, if you're all over the place, if you're hyper volatile, depressed, anxious, if you have all these challenges going on, your organization is going to start to reflect that if you don't have systems in place.
hmm
They're going to do what you do, they're going to behave how you behave, they're going to move how you move. And then the most talented and skilled individuals who have personal vision, they're going to look at you and say, I can't execute my vision underneath this behavior. Um, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
That's a problem. And people need to, once again, there's nothing wrong with quote unquote being transparent. Look, um, but some people are doing too much. And you don't know, you are literally like, I remember on the gram months ago, there was huge like ongoing battle, and it's still, you see this stuff going on where people get into conflict with each other and they take it to the streets, or they take it to the social media streets first, which sometimes can, in terms of being in business, it can be just bad as literally taking it to the streets. Um, and it's like, other business owners, other enterprise organizations are not going to do business with chaos. So if you're online getting into conflicts with people all the time, you're online beefing all the time, if you're on, look, it's cool. It'll make you popular for a moment. You'll get a lot of likes and shares, and get people in your comments. You think you win it. No, you're not.
But the likes and shares is not, it doesn't translate into income generating activities. That's not you could, there's so many people like take real estate, for example,
Mhm.
that have hardly no social media presence, but they're doing numbers.
Yeah.
So, like the social media presence, that doesn't mean that you're doing numbers or that you're doing income generating activities. Like,
Mhm.
it's not a popularity contest. You know what I mean? Like, just because you
Mhm.
got a million likes, what does that really mean? Like, it means nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're immersed in conflict, then all of your energy is focused on that, and that is a non-income generating activity. It's
Yeah.
that simple, you know. So, business owners who are focused on the bottom line and longevity and success stay away from conflict. They stay away from controversy. They avoid those things, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously some things are unavoidable if it just, you know, say someone brings a lawsuit or you have to sue someone or whatever. Those things are unavoidable. But for the most part, if you're trying to be a successful business owner, you want to focus on income generating activities, um, you know, maintaining a professional demeanor, appearance. You know, like for me personally, if I'm posting something on social media, it's something positive. I do not post negative content.
Mhm.
Even if
Yeah.
I had a bad experience at a business, I don't post it because I
Mhm.
feel like you never look good making somebody else look bad. It's like, what's, you know, and
No.
especially as a business owner myself, it's like, well, I'm more apt to think about the behind the scenes of what was going on that caused this negative experience as opposed to just blasting somebody on social media like, oh, I went there in this place, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think that that's something that we have to like really be objective about, you know,
Yeah.
like that's an important point that needs to be made is like it doesn't equate to an income generating activity. So what's the purpose and point of it? There isn't one
No.
unless you just enjoy being in conflict and that's your jam.
I mean, literally, it would have to be your jam.
Mhm.
And understand that is what your jam is going to be,
Right.
right?
You can
And
turn that into an income generating activity. If that's your jam, then hopefully you can turn that into an income generating activity. Because if not, you got to go back to the drawing board.
yeah.
You know, well, like what are we doing? Literally, like what is it that we're doing here? So,
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean that's very important, right? And it's not to say that you can't take stands. It's
Mhm.
not to say that you should concern because some people just aren't, you're not the flavor that they savor.
Right.
Be yourself, talk about the things that are important to you, talk about the things that are of interest to you, but make sure if you're doing that to build and attract a tribe that that gets value from you other than being entertained by you,
Right.
right? You're just entertainment for the moment. You're
Yeah, you're
the
tabloid fodder. You're
you're the
not.
crash out for the
Yeah,
moment.
you're tabloid fodder. You're not bringing value. You're just bringing, like, oh my God, this is a hot mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are some of the things that business owners have to really acutely be aware of if you want to remain stable and build a business that's not fragile. You know, the other thing is because before you make the transition from a team of me to a team of we,
Hmm.
um, you got to get really clear on why your business exists beyond earning a dollar. People are going to have to get better, whether they like it or not, of being able to tell their own stories.
Hmm.
Um, because once again, people are going to reflexively, I believe, get tired of AI and they're going to start seeking out people who they feel we need to find another word for authentic, but just they're going to seek out people who are being transparent. Let's put it that way, right?
Genuine.
They're going to
Genuine.
look for transparency.
Hmm.
And you're going to have to be able to tell your story in such a way where people can see and believe and feel that you are a transparent person. They got to like, know, and trust you,
Mm-hmm.
right? For the business owners that dismiss that, in particular, if you are working in corporate America, like, what are you going to do when your business is bought by another business? What are you going to do if the business goes out of business? What are you going to do when they decide to balance the budget on your back, right? And once again, this goes for small business owners too. Before you scale and become Nike or some other company where people don't care who's the CEO of it, um, before you get there, you got to be cognizant of that, right? People need to know who you are, what you're about, why are you doing what you do, what motivated you, what inspired you. You got to be much more critical about the tribe that you are attracting and how you go about doing that. That's something that I will willingly admit I've neglected. I've not done that, right? And I'm gonna start doing that more often, maybe once a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna be like, look, you want to know who I am as a person because you don't know me yet. That's
Right.
the other thing too, because people don't realize that. Like you post something, letting people into who you are, but a month from now, it's going to be a totally different set of eyeballs looking at that.
Correct.
So you have to be aware of the fact that no, you have to continually do that. You have to continually introduce yourself into the marketplace because there's new eyeballs looking at you.
Right.
You can't assume that people are going to see that one post in 2, 3 months, 6 months, a year ago. You have
Mm-hmm.
to continually introduce yourself to people. Um, and then, of course, a tough lesson I learned recently, but I've always known this lesson because I've seen it happen to other people. I'm gonna say this over and over again. You do not own the real estate on these social media platforms. They own that real estate.
Right.
And all it takes is some BS.com and they can take that real estate from you. You have to have, if you're on social media, you need to have some type of magnet that is capturing people's name, phone number, and email address.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have it. When I've had situations and where the algorithm changed, or there were some platforms I decided I just didn't want to participate in, and conflicts about guidelines by advertisers that and other. The one thing that gives me peace of mind of knowing is that if my social media went down, it'll just piss me off. But I have over 6,000 plus contacts and one contact manager. I have another 2,500 and another contact manager. I can still engage my people.
Right.
I can still build a brand. I can still earn revenues. Social media is an enhancement to what I do, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
reliant upon it in
Right.
that kind of way. There are a lot of business owners, man. If they lost their social media account, it's a wrap. It's over.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, like even with like YouTube bloggers, if
Yeah,
the channel goes down, then they're out they lose all their income from
yeah.
the channel.
No,
It's very easy for people to try to um, depending on what your topics are, to try to take your channel down. Like if you do certain things, um,
yeah,
try to take your channel down. So, and the bots are the ones deciding, what's
yeah,
what. So it's very precarious.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I remember, during the pandemic and following the pandemic, when you had all these, I guess you call them content creators, right?
mhm.
Um, and I don't want to start naming names because then you got to name all of them. But
Right.
there were people out here who were being deplatformed because of their positions on how people should respond to COVID, right? You had people getting into arguments, getting into these arguments about feminism versus masculinity and all this other stuff, and people
Mhm.
fighting over relationships and people making comments about that, getting deplatformed because you got a crowd of people out here who, quite frankly, they're intellectually lazy, as far as I'm concerned. But it is what it is. I'm not going to go there. That's not the purpose of the talk today. but they want to cancel you because they don't like your opinion.
Right.
Right. Well, my attitude is if I don't like somebody's opinion, number one, I need to care enough to care about your opinion. That's number one. If you are, if you're so concerned about other people's opinions, you obviously don't have shit to do. You're not building something. Like I don't have time to concern myself with other people's opinions of me and what it is I'm doing. I'm building. But anyway, but then you have this intellectual laxity where if someone has a perspective or opinion that I don't like and I care enough about it, then let's lock horns. Let's make it happen. We can have a conversation and see whose ideals end up being more marketable or acceptable or more accurate or more based in realism. But you know, as an entrepreneur, you got to understand that I personally believe these type of conflicts and aggressions are going to increase because that's the zeitgeist of our society right now. People are in a mood to get it in.
Yeah, they're pugilistic. They want to argue.
Yeah,
They want to go back and forth.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I've been running my mouth constantly. What you got for the next five, 10 minutes?
Well, no, I mean, I think we covered a lot as far as, the key to not having a business that's fragile is understanding the building blocks and the key elements of what you need. You
Mm-hmm.
need a team.
Mm-hmm.
You need people working behind the scenes. You can't scale your business if it's just you as a solopreneur and you're doing everything. You're wearing 20 hats. You
Mm-hmm.
can't scale. You're gonna crash and burn. And
Mm-hmm.
just to like just being burnt out, even when you do have a team, I experience burnout and I know you do too,
Mm-hmm.
all the time. That's why we talk about self-care and, disconnecting sometimes and things like that because you do get burnt out, especially when you're dealing with a lot of different personalities and a lot of different emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're working in certain industries, it's just par for the course.
Yeah.
So to make sure that your business isn't fragile, you need to make sure that you have a team, your team and you guys have similar goals, that, they share your vision, that you guys are having conversations on a regular basis, that your team feels empowered to make decisions sometimes. You don't need to be the person who makes every single decision. You could ask your team, well, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And I do that a lot too,
Mm-hmm.
especially as it pertains to like subcontractor liaison and things like that. I'll be like, well, how was your interaction? What do you think? How do you think this worked out? Do you think we needed to do blah, 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 blah? Like, you don't need to be the only person making decisions. I think that's super important. And I
Yeah.
think you need to make sure you're talking with your team about, what are you aiming at? What are your goals? We have those conversations in our accountability group,
Mm-hmm.
and our other businesses that we do. I think it's important because you want to really have a clear understanding of what direction this person is going, what direction is the team going. Do we need to, make sure that we have our goals aligned? Or do we need to realign our goals? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to change something we're doing? Do we need to include or add on another service line? Do we need to discontinue a service line? Do we need to reallocate tasks? You have to be very aware of what's going on in your business, and you have to be willing to have those hard conversations sometimes.
Yeah.
And as we've been saying week after week after week, making sure you have the right butts in the seats. That's the
My
key.
goodness.
That's the key right
My
there.
goodness.
Because when you don't, your business is not going to thrive. Like if you have people working and they can't perform simple tasks that you've taught them over and over and over again, you already know that it's time to reallocate those tasks. These people, it's not in their wheelhouse, and you can't beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
I think people need to, you already know, I always work in frameworks,
Hmm.
right? Um, as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to speak with clarity about number one, what good looks like,
Hmm.
right? Who do you want to serve? How do you want to serve them? Where's your competitive moat? why do you want to serve them,
Right.
right? Um, if you don't have those things in place, you can't do what you just said because you're not going to have the right people around you where you can go to and say, hey, what's your opinion? You can ask that person that because they know what good is. They know what the goal is. They know what good looks like, right? The other thing is, as opposed to pursuing, um, it's going to sound weird, but as opposed to pursuing transactions, you have to pursue standards. Because if you meet the standard, you'll get the clients. The
Yeah.
transactions will transpire, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
it'll mhm.
yeah. So, what are the expectations in terms of activity, key performance indicators? Like, what are the behaviors from the time you, quote unquote, uh, someone makes a buying decision with you to delivering your services, right?
Right.
I know for a fact in 2026, I'm about to get savage with that. Like, I'm going to hire talent to help me with my deliverables, straight up.
You have to. That's
Yeah.
that's the next step for you in your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
There's no other way that you can scale without doing those things because you
Yeah.
can't be a one-man show.
Yeah. Also having what I call a leadership rhythm, right? So what does that mean? IDS meetings. What does that mean? Um, Having something on the calendar on a week to week, month to month basis that gives people a chance to get better at the game, right? Increase their knowledge, increase their skills.
Mhm.
Um, so your business is no longer predicated upon personality
Correct.
and heroes. But the bottom line is ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things because of the systems that you put in place in your business. And
And
then
the
when you do that,
yeah, and the hard
yeah,
work. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
then at that point you can enable people to do what they need to do to be successful within the framework of your business. And they have space to be successful because you've provided these things, right?
Right.
And then last but not least, just iteration. Like boring is good in business. There's certain things in your business that should be boring. Like the onboarding process, quite frankly, should be boring. It should be very consistent and boring. How you deliver your services and products. I don't care if you're dropping off coffee at a restaurant, if you're delivering a package to a doorstep, or if you're making sure somebody has a good experience with your service. That whole process needs to be boring. It needs to be boring as all get out. Um, your sales presentations and or the tools that you use to create sales and revenues. That stuff should be boring. It should be super boring and predictable.
Hmm.
Um, the trainings. And I think people really get it messed up with this, right? Your trainings, believe it or not, should be boring. Not the delivery of the training. That's different. But the trainings themselves should duplicate the same type of content damn near every single time. The
And when you have your trainings, though, you need to make sure that you have like at the end a Q&A for the people who did the training to make sure that they're getting the deliverables that you're trying to deliver.
that
Because so
too.
many times I have found that I'll do training videos, I have like hundreds of unpublished training videos for my office staff and my back office
Mm-hmm.
staff. And it's like some people get it, some people don't. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to like understand that people's attention spans are very short.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you have to really take into consideration when you're doing a training video, like break it down in like different bites as opposed to like giving them a whole hamburger because some people cannot digest a whole hamburger in one
Mm-hmm.
setting, and that's something that you have to like feel your team out and see what works best for your team. Are they people with short attention spans that need, bite by bite, or are they people with a little bit longer attention span that can actually, comprehend the material and then not only comprehend it but apply it practically?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's the key right there because you could do 1,000 training videos where you're showing somebody how to execute something, and then when you give them the task they're like deer in the headlights.
Hmm.
They don't know what they're doing. And it's like they didn't even do the training. So that's something that you have to really kind of fine tune for yourself and for your team.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, there's so many other things we could talk about, but I mean, I'm thinking about this framework or this conversation. Like I said, I've already talked about it. I know there are certain things or certain adjustments I'm going to make where I'm going to remove myself from the equation.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And or on the flip side, utilize a tool
Hmm.
or just say no to a couple of things so I can say yes to those things. Right.
Hmm.
Um, that's got to happen. But I'm hoping what we're talking about lands because what I saw during the pandemic was heartbreaking. Seeing business owners just fail. There's another business I just learned about recently. They're getting ready to catch that L. They've been around for longer than I've been alive
Really?
here in Detroit Metro, and they're getting ready to catch that L. They're getting ready to go out of business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do
Um,
what?
hmm.
What's causing them to go out of business?
Number one, this happens a lot too in the restaurant industry. I've seen this happen with mechanic businesses, plumbing businesses, some of the skilled trade businesses. What ends up happening is the owner gets accustomed to a certain cadence where the
Mhm.
same people have been doing business with them because they're good at what they do, right? They've been doing business with them for a long time. But what they don't anticipate is that these people are going to die.
Yeah.
These people are going to move. If you're fortunate enough for your business to have been around for more than 20 to 30 years, and you've been relying upon the same client base or ecosystem, you have to accept that these people are going to move, they're going to die. It all sounds morbid, but it's just being real, right? And a lot of these businesses are not pivoting, they're not repositioning themselves to get in front of a new age demographic or a new whatever demographic, right? Let's take Detroit, for instance. The ethnic demo, how the demographics ethnically in Detroit are changing rapidly. This is
Yeah.
no longer a quote unquote ebony city or chocolate city. It is lightening, and entrepreneurs need to accept the fact that that is part of the deal. Like I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I was like, don't get it twisted. I'm not a black business owner. I'm a business owner. I own a business and I'm African American. I'm an African American that owns a business.
Right.
I want everybody's capital. I want my value prop to be translatable to anybody, regardless of ethnicity or whatever other ism you got going on,
Right, of
right?
course.
So um, I would go to, there's a couple of restaurants where I do this. I would just kind of sit and I'll look at their client base. And if I see everyone in there is over 50, 60 years of age, I'm like, man, that business owner better be paying attention to that. If you plan on being around another 20, 30 years, you better be paying attention to that. If you don't have an online presence that attracts new people, that's bad news. I saw that, right? With a lot of restaurants, their their customer service starts to drop off because once again they get really really comfortable with the people who've been coming in who know the people who are delivering the services and they have these personal relationships, but that new person coming in don't know you that way.
Right.
So you can't talk to them any kind of way. You can't take your time, right? And deliver certain things to them that they're not going to give you, they're not going to afford you the grace that you enjoy from people who trust you, like you, and know you trust, and respect you already.
Of
Like,
course.
yeah, yeah. So that's that's why this place is going out of business. I mean, those are the things that scream out the loudest. Now, of course, the margins are probably thinner too because the cost of eggs and milk and dairy have gone up. But
Mhm.
I firmly believe that even if the cost of goods had not gone up, the couple businesses that I'm looking at in a marketplace right now would be still on their way to catching the L. The death would just be a lot slower,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Sense.
So